Y'all, my video cut off when I was trying to look at the time on my phone. I think it stopped on its own. I think. But yeah, just to sum all that up, because I'm going to post both of them. You can't tell a person that they're wrong, especially if you're not on the same frequency as them. You're not in the same grade level as them. You can't tell them that they're wrong. It's levels to everything. And what I learned is, as you grow, as you learn, as you master self, your understanding that you had once before deepens. And so the way you express it is going to be different. And the person who hasn't came to that understanding or got on that frequency yet is not going to understand where you coming from. They not. And I know this to be true because I pay attention to myself. I pay attention to my thoughts. I catch a few of my thoughts before I get to the one that I'm going to share. So because I do that, I know my intentions behind the things that I say or do, because I've already paid attention to those thoughts that come, that you really, those first couple of thoughts that come, them the ones you need to pay attention to, because they're going to show you your true intention. And if it's opposite of what you speak out your mouth, then yeah, you know something off balance, something ain't lining within me. Anyway, what I was gonna say is I know that your understanding changes or deepens. I'm not gonna say change. I won't say it changes. I'm gonna say that it deepens as you learn more and master self. You get a deeper understanding, which really becomes understanding, because then you starting to put the pieces together within you. And once you put the pieces together within you, you begin to see a clear picture outside of you. So I was saying I know this to be true because there are understandings, there are dreams that I've had back in 2012, right? 2012, 2013, even back to 2008, because I keep a dream journal and I write my dreams down. And here lately, those dreams have been coming to mind, you know, throughout the day. I could see something or hear something, and that dream will come to the forefront of my mind. And I'm like, I remember when I had that dream. Why you gotta fly so close to the back of my head though? Huh? So I'll be like, I remember when I had that dream. And sometimes if I need to, I'll go back to the dream journal and go over it, go over the details and stuff, and see what understanding that I wrote down then. But I found out that my understanding that I had back then when I initially had the dream was based on where I was mentally, spiritually, based on my understanding back then, based on what I believed back then. My dream, that's the understanding I had, was based on those things. But now that I've grown and learned a little bit more, I graduated from where I was back then. So my understanding has deepened. As your frequency upgrades, so does your understanding. And when I say upgrade, as far as understanding, I mean it deepens. And you understand something on another level. So I'm going to share a dream with you right quick, just so you can understand what I'm talking about. Back in 2012, right, I had a dream that I ran into an old friend. And let me give you a little background. So back then, I was in church faithfully. I was director's assistant of the church. I was a teacher in the children's church. I was in the choir. I was on the intercessory prayer team. So I was very active during that time. It was work, go to church or just go to church and go home. Back and forth, go to church events, all that. So that was my background. That's how my life was at the time. And so I didn't do anything. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I didn't listen to secular music. None of that. It was straight gospel and alternative Christian music, all that. I ain't listened to no R&B, hip hop, none of that back then. When I tell you I was in it, I was in it. So the understanding I have when I had this dream, of course, is going to be based off of that, because that at the time was my life and my experiences. So I had a dream that I ran into an old friend. And I walked up on this old friend. This old friend was sitting on the curb. It's a curb right here, so let me just, I feel like demonstrating. So here go the curb, right? This friend was sitting on the curb right here. And I walked up to this friend. Now I had on a little skirt and a little shirt, right? So I walked up on the friend, but the friend was just kind of sitting here like this, like she wasn't gonna get up, but she wanted me to like reach down and give her a hug, right? And so I reached down to give her a hug, and as I'm reaching down to give her a hug, I feel like a draft go up my skirt. And I'm like, dang, my butt must be showing or something. The wind done blew my skirt up and my butt showing because I could feel the draft. So I don't know how people don't know when they butt is showing if they can't feel their air, and I just don't know. Some people walk around acting like they don't know that they cheeks is out or that they skirt is tucked in their panties or whatever. Anyway, so I'm like, dang, I'm trying to straighten up my skirt, but it feels like it's not working. And so as I'm hugging this old friend, I heard some people like in the distance, but not too far. So I look back and I see this group of people kind of walking up on me. But they hadn't got to the point to where they could see, and I don't know if my skirt done came up, if I'm exposed or what. But I was trying to let go of the friend so that I could stand up straight and adjust my clothes so not to be exposed. And the friend wouldn't let me go. She wouldn't let me go. I kept trying to pull away, and she was holding on to me so tight, right? And I kept trying to pull away and pull away. And I finally, because when you hug people, they facing that way, you facing this way. So I kind of I pulled back my head and looked at her face. She had a smirk on her face. And it was like a what's the word? A mischievous kind of smirk, like the Grinch kind of smirk, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of like, what? I was like, what? Why is she smiling like this? So I finally pushed myself away, almost falling back on my behind. I pushed myself away. And so when I woke up, I was like, Lord, what kind of dream was that? What kind of dream was this that I just had? And who was that person that I was hugging? Now, let me tell you what was going on mentally with me at that time. The apartments that I was living in, I had some people from my past move across the the lot from me. So their apartment was like facing my apartment. And so the people that were over there were really, really good friends with people that I consider to be family that I grew up with. And these were the people that had introduced me to certain things in my life. These are the people that I used to get high with, that I used to drink with. You know, they was my play brothers and cousins and stuff like that. But they was over there, and every day when I seen them, you know, I would have these thoughts of, you know, the old times and how things used to be. And I would have these thoughts of just going over there and just smoking a blunt with them, just chilling out, you know, but I never did give into it then. But I was having a war within myself during this time. I was having a war within myself because the temptation was there, right? And there was times when things got hard and I was just like, I could just go over there and ask such and such to give me a little weed so I can roll up me something and just take me a walk and smoke it, right? But I didn't. But that's the kind of war that was going on within me. Because, you know, the spirit and the flesh war daily. So that's the kind of war that was going on within me. And so I believe that's what brought about the dream at that time. So I kept asking, I was like, who was the person in the dream and what was going on? Why was she smiling like that? Why didn't she let me go? Now, 3 days later is when I got an understanding for this dream. And this understanding was based on how I was living my life at that particular time. Again, I was in church deep. I was in church probably 4 days a week. And I spent long hours. If I wasn't at church, I was at home. Matter of fact, I was there 5 days a week because I was doing the prayer line too. And somebody every 9 o'clock in the morning, prayer line. So I went there every day just about. But that was my life. So this understanding that I got at that time is based off where I was during that time in my life. And where I was real religious, real indoctrinated. And that was pretty much my whole life. I didn't know nothing else. I couldn't even tell you who was singing what as far as R&B, hip hop, and none of that. Shoot, I had Mr. Lot, Mario had grown up, and Chris Brown had grown up. They were just little boys dancing on the scene, and now they talking about some grown folk stuff. So I'm like, dang, where I been? Anyway, so the understanding I got 3 days later was that old friend was me, right? That old friend was me. That was, at the time, my understanding was that was my my sinful nature, my flesh, right? That was my understanding, that was me. That was another part of me. That was the sinful nature. That was my flesh. That was because that's what we call it in church. You know, your flesh is supposed to be the sinful nature because the flesh is always ready to sin and ready to get in some mischief. So that's the understanding I had. My flesh, my sinful nature was who was sitting on the curb. And me walking by, that was my spiritual self. And the representation of that part of me sitting on the curb is I had set that part of myself down. It was bound in a sense. And that's why the person couldn't get up to hug me, because it was bound to that spot. It had been set down. It had been pushed below. So it couldn't get up. So when I reached down to hug it, to hug me, to hug the old friend, which you can, you know, some people would say, you know, we've been friends with the devil, you know, back in our younger days or whatever. When I reached down to hug her, she wouldn't let me go because she wanted to come back up with me. She wanted to come back up with me. She didn't want to let me go. And at the same time, she wanted me to be, the other understanding was she wanted me to be exposed, like my sinful nature wanted me to be exposed, like you ain't really who you say you are, kind of thing, is what I was getting. And so the little smile that she had was like, I'm gonna hold you and I'm finna expose you. And so that was the understanding I got at that time. Right, and that dream helped me to not go over there and ask for that weed or smoke a blunt, because I felt like it was a really big test for me at the time, based off where I was in life and what I believe. So that was the understanding I got. That was my sinful nature, my flesh, really wanting me to be exposed, but also like, man, like, take me with you. We can be together again. But that smile got me. And you know what? When Us came out, when that movie Us came out, that's what that it reminded me of that dang dream. It reminded me that when Us came out, I was like, dang, that reminded me of that dream. It do, man. It do. I don't care what nobody say. Movies be having little nuggets in it. They be having things in there that will open your eyes up to some stuff that will help you understand. I know that that God speaks to me through music, through movies. And a lady told me that a long time ago, God speaks to me through the TV. And I was like, what she mean? Because I was like, this lady a false prophet, because God don't talk to nobody through no TV. I didn't have the understanding then. I didn't understand what she was saying. I thought she was just, saying stuff, because I hadn't got to that level yet. I was still at the level where I was saying, I can't hear God. God don't talk to me. That's what I had been saying during that time. So when she said God talked to me through the TV, and that's why I be up so late at night, I did not understand that. I just was like, let me stay away from this lady, because she, something ain't right. I ain't never heard that before in my life. But now I understand. God does talk to me through TV and music. Whatever has to do with communication, there could be something said, or even that I see that reminds me of something and connects the dots. So yes, God does talk to me in that way. I got that understanding now, but I didn't have it before. So anyway, that was the understanding back then that I got of that dream, because that's where I was in my life. That was the level I was on. That was the frequency I was on. So skip forward to today. That dream had came to mind, and the understanding that I have today is the young lady, the friend that I was holding. It was still me. Like I said, the understanding doesn't change, it deepens. So it was still me, but it was my shadow self, right? That's who I was hugging, my shadow self, because I set my shadow self down. As I got in church and started doing these things and being taught that this and that is sin, and if you don't do this, if you do this, you're going to hell. So I set that part of me down, the shadow self. Turning the other cheek, being nice, showing love thy neighbor. And yes, you do those things, but there is a balance when it comes to doing those things. Because you could do those things so much, and it could cause an imbalance. So the understanding I have today, at the frequency I am now, at the level I am now, is That is my shadow self that I was hugging in a dream. The lady, the old friend that was sitting on the curb was my shadow self because I had set my shadow self down. That's the part of me that I didn't want anybody to see. That's the part of me that I wasn't comfortable with. That's the part of me that I hadn't accepted yet. So because I hadn't, I continuously suppressed and sat down and bound that part of me, my shadow self. And the reason this dream came up recently is because I can't set that part of me down no more. I can't set that part of me down no more. And the reason that she was holding on so tight, because she like pulled me up like, you need me. And I come to find out I need that part of myself. There's going to be circumstances and instances in my life where I need that part of myself. Like I'm not whole if I don't embrace my shadow side. I'm not whole if I don't embrace all parts of me. And because I hadn't embraced that part of me, I myself inwardly was off balance. So I'm trying to be out good all the time. Just be good, love and light. I ain't even say love and light back then. God bless you. I'm blessed, by the best. Stuff like that. But, yeah, just being good. And I am good. But there's times when I need to allow my shadow side to take the wheel just for a minute. Just for a second. And that doesn't mean me being violent or out of control. That means me speaking the truth. Even if it's going to offend someone. That means me standing up for myself. Not expecting my mom or anyone to stand up for me, but me standing up for myself. Me speaking up for myself. Me finding my voice. Me not allowing people to take advantage of me. So the shadow side is necessary for anybody. We all have light and dark, or light and shadow. There go the red bird, that cardinal. Light and shadow parts of us. And we have to embrace both sides. We just have to know where that balance is within us. So that was a new understanding, a deeper understanding that I got. Because again, if you listen to both understandings, they really the same, but one is based off where I was in life, and the other one, of course, is based off again where I am in life. But it's a deeper understanding because my frequency has changed. I'm not at the same frequency I was when I initially had the dream. My frequency has gone up, so my understanding has deepened. And that's why I know what I'm saying is to be true. Everybody's understanding is not going to be the same. Now, if you're on the same frequency, y'all may have the same understanding. But if you're not on the same frequency, y'all not going to have the same understanding. So we need to stop, trying to pray for people to have a different understanding than where they are. Because when you say stuff like that, who knows what this different understanding is? Is the different understanding to take them lower, to a lower frequency? Especially if you haven't reached where they are. Don't pray for somebody to have a different understanding if your understanding is of a different belief or a different frequency or lower frequency than them. Because, okay, let's say for instance, if you have a biblical understanding of something, it's cool because you're not wrong. If you have a biblical understanding of something, you're not wrong if you choose to believe the way your teacher taught it, your preacher, your pastor, or the minister taught it. We can't say they wrong. They got the understanding they got. And the understanding they got is for the people who are on that level with them. They gonna understand. But there's some people that will be in the midst that won't understand because they not on their level. The same thing when Yeshua, when he was teaching, The people that wasn't on the frequency or close to the frequency didn't understand. They didn't have the ear to hear. They didn't have the eye to see. So they didn't understand, and they walked away like, this is too hard. But it wasn't for them to understand because they hadn't made it to that level. There's still things they had to learn about themselves before they could have that understanding. And it's the same thing with life. And I don't care if it has to do with religion, spirituality, in your career sector, in your family, whatever. You can't pray for somebody to have a different understanding. When you say you pray for them to get a different understanding, if it's based off your understanding, then that's the wrong prayer. And I learned this from a very wise woman who told me that our prayers can be selfish. A very wise woman, because at the time when she told me this, she was asking me how would I pray for my husband, well, ex-husband now, but she was asking me how would I pray for him. And if I'm not mistaken, my answer was I would pray for God's will to be done in his life. And the way she explained it to me, hopefully I'm going to repeat it right because it's been about 2 years or so. But the way she explained it to me, in my mind, in my mental, when I say for God's will to be done, in my mind, I could be saying, for me, God's will could be for him to get his stuff together and do the right thing. In my mind, that's what God's will could be. So she said that, that was kind of selfish. Hey, Stephanie. And I get it. I understood what she said at that time. Because when people pray, they may tell you that they're praying for God's will to be done, but their intention in that prayer is for you to think the way they want you to think or to move the way that they want you to move. So what they consider to be God's will for your life and what you consider to be God's will for your life can be two totally different visions. So I learned that from her, and she said, so when she told me that was selfish, so I had to think about it for a little bit, and she said, I said, so what I need to pray is that I see him the way God see him. And she was like, yes, that's a good prayer right there, for you to see him the way God see him. Because if I say if I'm going to pray for me to see somebody the way God see them, then that's going to be for our highest good. Not just my highest good, but our highest good, because it's going to benefit both of us if I can see the way God see them and not the way I want to see them, and not the way, not see them from the eyes of pain and disappointment and betrayal, but see them the way that God see them. That would be for my highest good and his highest good. So when we say we pray, someone has a different understanding. What understanding are you talking about? The understanding that you have? Because if that's the prayer, then that's a selfish prayer, and it's not for your highest good or their highest good. So that prayer is null and void. And another thing about that is when you say things like that, because I'm learning more and more about the words that we say and the prayers that we pray. In our minds, a prayer that we pray for somebody can be, we blessing them, we praying for them to do better, but we praying for them to do better according to our understanding. We praying for them to do better according to how we believe they supposed to be living. But that's not a blessing. That's not a blessing for you to pray for their life to be a particular way or for them to take a certain path. Because we don't know, a lot of us don't know what path God has that person on. And while we praying for them to get out of certain situations or to be free for certain situations, that can actually be going against what God is wanting to do in their life. Because you can pray for somebody to be out of situation, but they don't learn the lesson that they were supposed to learn, and then they end up repeating that same cycle, and then we want to call it backsliding. When actually they didn't learn you don't complete something or be free for something until you learn the lesson in that. So we can't just be going around throwing out prayers and not properly knowing how to pray, because where you think you may be doing good for them, where you think you may be blessing them, you're actually doing the opposite. You're actually cursing them. You're actually prolonging what they need to learn, because you're trying to prematurely pull them out of something that they're in, because they have to learn a lesson. Now, you can pray for them to learn whatever they need to learn in that situation. You could pray that they follow the path of their highest good, which is going to be the Almighty, the Divine One's will, that's for their highest good. Because then it's not biased. Is it biased? Your prayer is not biased. Your prayer is not based on your belief and understanding, but just the will of the Most High, the source, the all. So we need to get away from that, praying for people to have different understandings or certain understandings, because that could be based off your own belief and your own understanding, and you could be in violation. You could actually be cursing them, because especially if their understanding is of a deeper understanding. Now, they already know and learn the biblical understanding of something, but when they get a deeper understanding because they've elevated in their frequency, and you praying for them to continue to have a biblical understanding, you're trying to pull them back to a place that God has already elevated them from. So you're trying to pull them down. That's no good. That's no bueno. It's no bueno. So no, I can't tell you wrong about your understanding, especially if it relates to religion in the Bible. I'm not going to tell nobody that they wrong. Now, there was a point in my life when I was like, yeah, no, they wrong. I was telling people, they need to get saved, and if they gonna go to hell if they don't get saved, if they don't confess Jesus Christ, they Lord and Savior, they lost. I've been there already. So I'm not gonna knock anybody who's in that place, because I have a better understanding. I have a deeper understanding that there's levels to it. And then it's not meant for everybody to elevate or go to the next level at the same time. It's not made like that. So there's different levels. And so I'm not, at the understanding that I have now, I'm not going to tell somebody that they wrong the way they understand. I'm not. What I will do is share my understanding with those who want to hear it. I'm not going to force my understanding on anybody, but I'm going to share my understanding as I'm given to it, led to share. And those that are on my frequency will understand it. Those that are above my frequency will understand it. Those who are below my frequency won't understand it. But I'm not going to tell them that they wrong, because I've been there already and I understand. I've already had that understanding and I've grew from that. So no one should be telling anyone that they're wrong or they have the wrong understanding about things, because they have to get that on their own. And that only comes from soul searching, spending time with the Father, and really observing the decisions and the thoughts and the actions that you take within your own life. That involves, kind of looking at the past and seeing where your patterns are, where you keep making the same mistake and getting the same result, and asking why do I keep doing this? What is it about this that causes me to do this? You got to get to that point so you can grow heal, and elevate so you can ascend. So, yeah, I hope this helped y'all and y'all enjoyed it. I don't know what happened with the video. I'm just going to post a part 1 and a part 2. And also, if you feel that this could be beneficial to someone that you know, feel free to share it with them. Yeah, of course, if you want to, like, subscribe, comment. But I just really wanted to just put that out there, because I swear every time I get on my social media, it's one person in somebody's comments on their stuff telling them that they wrong or they gonna go to hell for the way they believe, or they are on there talking about, well, people who believe this don't know what they talking about. Like, come on now. Of course there's gonna be division. It has to be division, because you got to have somebody above you and somebody up under you. It's like the people that are above you are going to speak the way they speak. And there's going to be a bridge in between these. There's going to be a bridge in between these levels, because there's going to be someone who drops little nuggets and information that connects, is another link to the bridge. And once you connect all those links and you get the understanding, and you learn what you needed to learn during that time, then you can go up them links and be at the next level. But at that point, you're going to be sharing information. You're going to be sharing information for the person that's below you, so they can catch those links, catch those nuggets. And you're making the link a bridge for them. If they take the necessary steps and do the works and bear their cross, they gonna make it up to the next level. Kind of like each one teach one. You know what I'm saying? But we can't just be like, well, you wrong. You can't say that. In religion, there's right and wrong. In society, there's right and wrong. But in the spirit, there's no right and wrong. It's going to be based off what's happening at that time and what's going to be beneficial for the highest good of the parties involved, right? There's no right or wrong, because they say killing is wrong. Here in the 3D, they say killing is wrong, right? But if somebody trying to kill you and you got to preserve your life, you're not just going to lay there and let them kill you because killing is wrong. If you can't get them off of you, you going to kill them. Does that make you wrong? No, it don't make you wrong. You was defending your life, because this person was going to take your life. And if you didn't take their life, they was going to take your life. So how is that wrong? If nowadays, they do self-defense, but still, thou shalt not kill. But if you kill somebody and you was to base it off the law and it was in self-defense, does that mean you still wrong? Does that mean you still wrong? Because one of the number one laws is to preserve life. Anyway, I was supposed to be ending this. I just had that little moment, that little aha moment, that little upload I just got. But y'all enjoy y'all day. I got to go hit it, do a little bit of door dashing, get my day started. Thank you for walking with me and listening. Y'all have a good day. Till next time.